Blood Star. In the vast expanse of the starry sky, a woman dressed in purple flew at incredible speed, her feet standing atop a long sword about 30 feet in length. Behind her, 3 women dressed in colorful robes closely pursued. You wretched traitor, you've betrayed the heavenly water palace and stolen the young master's sacred artifact. Do you truly think you can escape? Even though this is within the domain of the Destiny Star, our 5-element star is also a level 7 cultivation star. You can't run. One of the women behind the purple-clad figure sneered. The woman in purple gritted her teeth, her face pale. The purple veil that once adorned her face had long since fallen away. You're poisoned with the young master's goo toxin. How far do you think you can escape? The mocking voice came again. The woman in purple looked haggard. The goo toxin in her body had already started to take effect, and she had been suppressing it as she fled. She had thought she could escape, but never expected her sisters would betray her and lead the enemies right to her. Now, she was running on fumes, and the toxin inside her could no longer be contained. She coughed up blood, her face growing even paler, and the sword beneath her feet wavered dangerously. She forced a bitter smile, swaying slightly as she controlled her sword to fly straight toward a blood-red planet not far away. The 3 women behind her snorted and increased their speed, closing in on their target. As the blood-red planet grew nearer, the woman in purple broke through the planet's wind barrier and headed straight for the surface. There, a blood-red pavilion appeared before her eyes. From within the pavilion, a man emerged. His red hair and eyebrows matched his blood-red robe. He stood still, and though there was no visible cultivation power emanating from him, an overwhelming aura of authority filled the air, suffocating all who approached. He glanced coldly at the woman in purple and the 3 women chasing after her. With a furrowed brow, he said flatly, "Leave." The 3 women in colorful robes changed expressions. One of them immediately said, "We are from the 5-element star's heavenly water palace, here to capture a traitor. We ask that you do not interfere, Xun'er." A cold glint flashed in the man's eyes. With a flick of his sleeve, a gust of wind arose, sending the 3 women flying out of the blood star. What's your name?" he asked. "Zixin. My name is Zixin, a cultivator from the 6th-level cultivation nation, Vermilion Bird Star," the woman in purple replied, stunned as she looked at him. With a single glance, he could send her pursuers flying. Such a cultivator was terrifying beyond belief. Vermilion Bird Star. Chu Kingdom, Cloud Heaven Sect. The entire Cloud Heaven Sect had changed drastically. Under the leadership of Zhou Ru, the Chu Kingdom had risen to become a 4th-level cultivation nation, and while it was only a 4th level, its influence was the largest among all 4th-level nations. Even the leaders of 5th-level cultivation nations would show respect when they came to Chu Kingdom, especially when facing the Cloud Heaven Sect. Anyone who had witnessed the events of the past few centuries knew that a cultivator named Wang Lin had single-handedly stirred up an unprecedented storm on Vermilion Bird Star. After Cloud Heaven Sect became a 4th-level cultivation nation, they demolished their mountain gate and used the nation's resources to build a massive statue out of high-grade spiritual stones. The statue depicted a man in black, his eyes lost in deep thought. His features weren't handsome, but he had an ethereal, transcendent aura. His right hand formed a gesture, as if pondering something. A terrifying aura of authority emanated from this statue, filling the air. This was the gate to the Cloud Heaven Sect. It was revered by countless disciples of the sect and respected by all the cultivators of Chu Kingdom, as well as by the entire Vermilion Bird Star. He had become a legend, a myth. At this moment, an old man and a young boy were climbing the stairs toward the Cloud Heaven Sect. They looked up and saw the towering statue. The boy's face lit up with curiosity as he asked, "Grandfather, is this the statue you were talking about?" The old man gazed at the statue with a hint of nostalgia in his eyes. After a long pause, he rubbed the boy's head and said, "Do you know why the sect leader of Cloud Heaven Sect, Tai Yin, was able to achieve spirit transformation? Do you know why the cultivators of all sects in Chu Kingdom revere Cloud Heaven Sect? Why the big shots from 5th-level cultivation nations show respect when they visit?" The boy blinked, puzzled, and said, "Is it because of this statue?" The old man sighed and replied, "This statue represents someone who, in just a few hundred years, caused a storm unlike anything ever seen on Vermilion Bird Star. There are things about him that only became known after he left. It's said that he spent 200 years cultivating, causing chaos in the demonic sea, saving a beauty at Cloud Heaven Sect, and shaking the entire world. In Zhou Kingdom, the slaughter was so intense that the land turned blood red. The entire Zhou Kingdom was turned into a land of corpses, and the entire Zhou family was wiped out. The boy was stunned, his eyes wide. He killed so many people. Yes, the old man continued. He entered the immortal realm, slayed the red butterfly, defeated Lu Mei, battled Qian Feng, and even took Dun Tian from the soul refining sect as his master. He drove out the snow domain, killed the giant demon ancestor, and made a name for himself in the war against the immortal remnant clan. He even took the Vermilion Bird crystal from the Vermilion Bird tomb, the first person to do so. The boy's eyes were filled with awe. But he refused to become the Vermilion Bird Patriarch? Indeed, the old man said. And that's why Zhou Wu Tai, the current Vermilion Bird Patriarch, comes to Cloud Heaven Sect and silently watches this statue whenever there's a major event. Before this person appeared, Vermilion Bird Mountain was the sacred ground. But after he left, Cloud Heaven Sect became the new sacred ground. The boy's mouth dropped open. I want to be like him. What's his name? Where is he now? The old man sighed deeply, a hint of sadness in his voice. His name is Wang Lin. I don't know where he is now, but someone like him, no matter where he goes, will never be ordinary. The young man was about to speak when a mighty tiger's roar suddenly echoed from the foot of the mountain. The roar was filled with authority, and it even made the surrounding trees rustle. At the same time, a giant black-striped tiger leaped up from the base of the mountain and charged straight towards the summit. On the back of the tiger sat a young woman, around 20 years old. She was dressed in white, her clothing fluttering in the wind, giving her the appearance of an immortal. Though her beauty wasn't otherworldly, she was strikingly delicate. Her skin was as smooth as porcelain, and her eyes sparkled with a lively, intelligent gleam. Little White, hurry up. Her voice was like that of a yellow oriole, sweet and melodious. The tiger growled again and charged towards the Cloud Heaven Sect. When it reached the statue at the top, it halted and landed beside it. The tiger looked at the statue with a disdainful gaze, its large head tilting as it muttered inwardly, "This girl is too silly. Why does she insist on seeking that person out? Staying on Vermilion Bird Star would be so much better. I've got so many tigresses, how could I ever bear to leave?" But then again, this girl once mentioned that outside of Vermilion Bird Star there are even more beautiful tigresses. Now, that's making things complicated. The young woman stared at the statue, her voice soft as she murmured, "Uncle, I've already reached the core formation stage. It'll be soon. I'm working hard. Grandfather Tai Yin said that once I reach the nascent soul stage, he'll give me what you left behind. Uncle, I will definitely make it to the nascent soul stage." A faint sigh echoed in the void. From within the Cloud Heaven Sect, an elder emerged. He was tall and wore a Taoist robe, exuding a dignified aura. With measured steps, he reached the statue, offering a deep bow before turning his gaze to the tiger and the young woman. His eyes softened with affection as he said, "Ruer, cultivate at your own pace. If you solely chase after the nascent soul, you'll fall into the trap of stagnation, going against the current." The young woman, still gazing at the statue, responded softly, "Grandfather Tai Yin, didn't Uncle leave Zhou Kingdom with the same obsession, seeking the nascent soul in the demonic sea? This shows that following one's heart is not always the right path." The elder, Tai Yin, was the one who had broken through to the nascent soul stage under Wang Lin's guidance, later advancing to the spirit transformation stage. He held deep gratitude and respect for Wang Lin. The storage pouch Wang Lin had left behind remained unopened by Tai Yin all these years. He dared not touch it. He would never forget Wang Lin's calm gaze before leaving. Zhou Ru withdrew her gaze and turned to Tai Yin, smiling faintly like a blooming lily. "Grandfather Tai Yin, I met Uncle Zhou on the way here. He told me to go to Vermilion Bird Mountain to cultivate, saying I'd progress faster there. Today, I'm here to bid you farewell." Tai Yin understood well. Zhou Ru's status on Vermilion Bird Star was extraordinarily special. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call her the little princess of the star. Anyone who had known Wang Lin back then, whether in awe or respect, treated her with great courtesy. Even the Immortal Remnant clan was extremely polite to Zhou Ru. Though they had restrictions that prevented most cultivators from entering, she was one of the few exceptions. On Vermilion Bird Star, Zhou Ru was safe from any danger. Many powerful figures, including Zhou Wutai and the Yun Kezi of the Immortal Remnant clan, had gifted her protective treasures, ensuring her safety. Even if someone dared to attack this core formation girl, victory was far from guaranteed. Additionally, experts sent by Vermilion Bird Mountain, the giant demon clan's leader Chi Hu, and others, were always nearby to protect her, leaving her without a hint of danger. Among these protectors were also people from Cloud Heaven's sect. After a brief moment of contemplation, Tai Yin nodded with a kind smile. Very well, go to Vermilion Bird Mountain and focus on your cultivation. If you ever reach the nascent soul stage, I will immediately hand over the item left by your benefactor. Zhou Ru smiled and turned to look at the statue one last time. She patted the black-striped tiger's head. Little White, let's go to Vermilion Bird Mountain. With a roar, Little White leapt into the air, disappearing into the horizon. Speaking of which, I've been riding on the tailwind of Wang Lin's influence all these years. Cultivators who once tried to capture me now show me the utmost respect. But then again, considering that, if this little girl ever leaves Vermilion Bird Star, I'll follow her wherever she goes. As Little White soared through the sky, it couldn't help but drool. Whether it was for this reason or because of Zhou Ru's mention of the tigresses in the outer cosmos, it had made up its mind. Around the dragon pool, large numbers of demon soldiers stood guard year-round, with some hidden Imperial City experts training in secret. Even if something monumental happened, as long as the enemy had not arrived at Dragon Pool, they would remain hidden. The waters of the pool were infused with intense demonic aura. Deep within, beyond a veil of demonic energy, there lay a vast underground cave mansion. In this underground cave mansion, there was a statue, completely pitch black, resembling an ancient demon. At this moment, the statue's eyes glowed with flickers of demonic light. Beneath the statue, there was a pool within a pool, its liquid sparse but already thickening. At this time, Wang Lin was sitting cross-legged within the pool, still wearing his armor, but his eyes were tightly closed. Before him, a giant man who closely resembled Ling Tianho was encased in a purple crystal. The rotting parts of his body were slowly healing. Waves of eerie demonic light intermittently flashed from the statue's eyes, merging into Wang Lin's body. Each time the demonic light struck, Wang Lin's body would shudder slightly. Within his primordial spirit, the shadowy form of the demonic soul, bound by the power of both himself and the ancient demon, had been suppressed and was in a comatose state. However, Wang Lin's goal was not merely suppression, it was to devour it. He sought to absorb this scattered demon to nourish his cultivation. But this scattered demon was enormous, not something that could be easily devoured. Wang Lin had been sitting in that pool for several months, gradually wearing it down, but he still hadn't been able to consume it. Despite this, Wang Lin had continuously formed and imprinted various seals on the scattered demon's soul, and over the course of these months, the seals had accumulated in countless numbers. With the help of the ancient demon, Wang Lin had also left a faint imprint on the scattered demon's heart and mind. Yet, because the scattered demon was so powerful, the imprint was barely visible, and it could only be controlled with time as Wang Lin's primordial spirit continued to refine it. One day, Wang Lin opened his eyes, a trace of demonic light flickering within them. To devour this demon with my current cultivation is impossible. I must keep reinforcing the imprint on its primordial spirit. Eventually, I will be able to control it. At that point, instead of devouring it, I could refine it into my second primordial spirit. That is also an option. The second primordial spirit was a unique divine ability exhibited by cultivators who reached the pinnacle of their cultivation. However, this ability wasn't always successful, mainly due to the strength of the embryonic vessel for the second primordial spirit. The strength of the vessel determined the success or failure of this ability. If the second primordial spirit failed to be refined, it would severely injure the cultivator. Additionally, refining the second primordial spirit consumed a great deal of the cultivator's energy, which was why most pinnacle cultivators avoided it. At least, among those Wang Lin had encountered, very few had managed to refine a second primordial spirit. As for those who surpassed the pinnacle, Wang Lin had never seen one with a second primordial spirit. This demon, as one of the scattered demons under the command of the ancient demon, is likely unmatched in terms of its embryonic vessel. Refining it into a second primordial spirit, I am confident that I can succeed on my first attempt. Wang Lin thought to himself, now, my primordial spirit and physical body are completely fused, solidifying my cultivation at the pinnacle. No more risks, but there are still things that need to be done. I must obtain the remaining sword chi of Sword Venerable Ling Tianhou. It's a waste for this power to stay with those useless disciples of Sword Venerable. Wang Lin's eyes flashed as he rose from the pool. His black armor now looked as though he were a demon sovereign, especially with his long hair cascading over his shoulder armor, giving off an eerie aura. He touched the armor, and a flicker of excitement passed through his eyes. This armor was very strong. When worn, a thick demonic aura radiated from it. Unfortunately, Wang Lin couldn't absorb this demonic aura, which was a pity. If this armor is worn and I use the demon transformation finger technique, its it's probably stronger than my Dao transformation yellow spring technique. But I lack the cultivation to bind this armor to me. I can't yet see all of its divine abilities. However, once I refine the scattered demon into my second primordial spirit, the true power of this demonic armor will be unleashed. Wang Lin stroked the armor and then tapped his storage pouch. A wrist guard flew out from within. The moment the guard appeared, it transformed into black threads, wrapping around his arm and solidifying into shape. You're leaving now. The voice of the ancient demon echoed from within the statue. Wang Lin turned and cupped his fists toward the statue, saying, Ancient Demon Senior, you have assisted me 3 times. I will never forget this kindness. This time, I am fulfilling my promise. However, before I go, there are a few things that still need your help. The ancient demon was silent for a moment before slowly replying, What do you need? Wang Lin thought briefly before taking out the pagoda that Zhou Ru had given him all those years ago. I need to find a sword spirit. This pagoda contains its divine consciousness. Please, Senior, help me locate it. The ancient demon scanned with its divine sense and replied, There is no trace of this sword spirit in my heavenly demon province. As for other places, I do not know. The land of demonic spirits is vast, and I cannot search it all. If you bring me a demon, I can absorb it and cast a large-scale spell to help you search. However, with my current strength, I am unable to do this. Alternatively, if you have the ancient demon pagoda, you can extend its divine sense. Wang Lin put away the pagoda and nodded. He pointed at the giant man sealed in crystal beside him and said, This person, I want him. The ancient demon remained silent for a long time. Eventually, it spoke, I will send him to you. But within 100 years, you must bring me a demon. Wang Lin's gaze was intense as he nodded. I wish to enter the ancient demon's inheritance and comprehend that strange realm. I need to refine my own divine abilities. This matter is not difficult. However, I have already helped you multiple times, fulfilling the promise I made to you. As of now, you have not contributed anything in return. So, we will discuss this once you bring me a demon. Wang Lin smiled slightly and said, That's fine. But doing this alone might be a bit difficult. From now on, you will be my messenger, with status surpassing even the Demon Emperor. My Heavenly Demon Province will officially go to war with the Flame Demon Province, and this will be part of the coordination. Once you reach the Demon Spring in the Flame Demon Capital, don't forget the mantra I've taught you. Wang Lin clasped his fists. His right hand reached out and grabbed the burly man, wrapped in crystal, from the air. With a swift motion, he stepped out of Long Tan, and in an instant, vanished from sight due to teleportation. The reason he had requested the ancient demon to search for Zhou Ru and enter the realm of inheritance was because, in the agreement with the ancient demon, the latter had already contributed a great deal. If Wang Lin remained passive and showed no desire or request, the ancient demon might suspect his sincerity. These 2 requests were indeed matters Wang Lin wanted help with from the ancient demon. It wasn't an excuse. By making such requests, he hoped to ensure the ancient demon would remain patient. Thousands of miles away from the ancient demon city, Wang Lin's figure stepped out of the void. He glanced at the crystal in his hand and stored it into his storage pouch. This person is definitely related to Sword Venerable Ling Tianhou. Keeping him under my control might have unexpected benefits in the future. Wang Lin's eyes glinted with thought as his body shifted again, and he cast the grand teleportation technique. Wang Lin continued teleporting, his destination being the resting place of the rat of the 12 earthly branches in the Fire Demon Province. He was reluctant to ignore it. After all, Ling Tianhou's sword qi was incredibly valuable. Teleportation was a divine ability. After many uses, Wang Lin finally entered the Fire Demon Province. The resting place of the rat was in a forest, most of which had turned into a desolate wasteland. The ground was littered with decayed limbs and rotting flesh, as months had passed since the incident. Yet, the rat's body remained intact. Weak golden light flickered on its body. Surrounding it were numerous bird and beast carcasses, which had come seeking food, but perished immediately upon nearing the rat's corpse. On this day, a blue light streaked across the sky from a distance. A middle-aged man wearing a Taoist robe spread his divine sense, and, upon discovering the rat's corpse on the ground, he immediately blurred and appeared 10 feet away from it. This is the place. Just as I suspected, there must be a treasure within this body. Otherwise, it wouldn't emit this kind of sword qi, the middle-aged man said with a joyful gleam in his eyes, fixated on the rat's corpse. The place where the rat died was extremely remote, and it would be difficult to notice the body without careful searching. The middle-aged man practiced a technique related to birds and beasts. Though his divine sense was not strong, he could inhabit birds and beasts. During one of his meditations, the bird he was inhabiting found this location. Surprised, the man immediately recognized something unusual about the body and hastened to investigate. He stared at the rat's body, took a deep breath, and slapped his storage pouch. A swarm of black beetles, emitting a buzzing sound, flew out and headed for the corpse. However, as soon as the beetles entered within 10 feet, a golden glow radiated from the body. In the blink of an eye, the beetles were all obliterated. Rather than being alarmed, the middle-aged man was delighted. He muttered to himself, "There must be a treasure." He took another deep breath and was about to cast another spell when a cold grunt suddenly came from behind him. The man was startled and quickly spun around. He flicked his right hand, and a swarm of tiny black insects flew out from his sleeves, forming a cloud that rushed toward the source of the sound. Taking advantage of this moment, the man stepped back a few paces and fixed his gaze. What he saw made him gasp in shock. Behind him stood a man in black armor, waves of terrifying demonic energy surrounding him. The insects the man had sent out immediately shattered and died as soon as they came close. The middle-aged man's expression changed slightly. He stepped back again and cupped his fists. "Friend, why are you stopping me from retrieving my junior brother's body?" "Your junior brother?" The armored man, who was Wang Lin, had appeared here after teleporting. He had witnessed the man's joyful expression as he stared at the rat's body. "Of course, he is my junior brother. We are disciples of the Heiyun sect. This person's name is Zhou Chu, and I'm Teng Yun. We both came from the land of demonic spirits. A month ago, my junior brother and I parted ways, but I never expected him to fall victim to such a vicious act. If it weren't for the sensing item on his body that emits a golden glow, I wouldn't have known where to find him. Today, Teng would never have found his corpse otherwise," Teng Yun said, his face filled with sorrow, his expression one of deep grief. If it were an ordinary person, they might have been fooled by his words. Wang Lin gave Teng Yun a cold glance, and then shifted his gaze forward. Teng Yun's face slightly changed as he retreated a few steps, his eyes fixed on Wang Lin, thinking to himself, "This person's armor is terrifying, and I can't discern his cultivation. I don't know if he's a cultivator or a demon from this place. But no matter how strong his cultivation is, once he steps within 10 feet of the body, he will undoubtedly die. I'll just wait for him to be killed by the golden light coming from the treasure, and then I'll take it for myself. At that point, even his armor will be mine." Teng Yun sneered inwardly, but his outward expression showed concealed anger, though he didn't dare to stop Wang Lin. Wang Lin took a step forward, entering the 10-foot radius around the rat's body. As soon as he did, golden light erupted from the corpse, shooting out like thousands of golden needles, instantly attacking him. Tung Yun's eyes lit up with joy, a hint of pride showing on his face. But immediately after, he inhaled sharply, his pride quickly vanishing from his gaze. Wang Lin's eyes, hidden beneath his helmet, radiated a cold light. With a wave of his hand, the golden radiance was instantly swept away. Having already had experience with the sword chi of the 12 sword prodigies, Wang Lin remained calm and took another step forward, arriving beside the corpse of the rat sword. He stepped forward casually, landing 10 paces away. In Tung Yun's eyes, however, it was a terrifying sight. He secretly thought, "This is bad." His body moved, about to flee, but at that moment, a cold grunt reached his ears. Tung Yun's body trembled, and he halted. A feeling gripped him, that if he persisted in fleeing, death was certain. The shadow of death loomed over his heart. "Don't want your junior's corpse?" Wang Lin crouched down, not even turning his head. Tung Yun's face twitched. He hurriedly said, "Senior, if you like it, feel free to take it. I bear no grudge. My junior has always been a person of misfortune. If his death can benefit a great person like you, then that is his fortune, accumulated through 8 lifetimes of cultivation. I believe that even if my junior were alive and knew that you were interested, he would not hesitate to die for you. My junior is just that kind-hearted." At this moment, his fear caused him to speak without thinking. Wang Lin looked at the rat sword's corpse, his gaze fixed on its forehead where the golden radiance emanated. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his right hand decisively slashing down. The rat sword's head was severed, and Wang Lin grasped its head in midair, immediately spitting out a blast of primordial spirit essence fire. Colorless flames enveloped the head, continuously refining and burning it. Tung Yun, witnessing all of this, felt a chill down his spine. Bitterly, he thought, "It's over. This person possesses primordial spirit essence fire, which means he's not a demon, but a ruthless cultivator who spares neither the living nor the dead. I've had bad luck, witnessing all of this. I can only pray that he doesn't kill me to silence me." Wang Lin gazed at the refined rat sword's head, his eyes flashing. Another blast of primordial spirit chi shot out, and the head instantly vanished, leaving only a flickering golden light. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his right hand reaching into the void to grasp the golden radiance, and swallowed it. He then flicked his left foot, sending the rat sword's body toward Tung Yun, saying, "Here's your junior's body. Take it and bury it properly." Tung Yun's face turned pale, but there was a look of someone who had survived a disaster in his eyes. He quickly caught the body and repeatedly said, "Yes, thank you, Senior. Thank you, Senior." He then hurried away with the corpse in his arms. After traveling several miles, his body was drenched in cold sweat. He sighed in relief, looking at the decapitated body in his arms with hatred. He threw it away with a fierce motion, then waved his right hand. A large cloud of black mist immediately surrounded the body, and in an instant, the body and bones were completely consumed. "This damn body nearly killed me. But this senior, though powerful, is a bit slow-witted. He actually believed that person was my junior." Tung Yun spat, recalling everything that had just happened. He was still shaken. He looked back and quickly left. What he didn't know was that if Wang Lin had truly believed Tung Yun was the rat sword senior, Tung Yun would have met a far worse fate. After absorbing Ling Tianho's sword chi, Wang Lin stood motionless. His body slowly sank, eventually disappearing underground. He sat cross-legged and quietly began refining. Ling Tianho's sword chi was not easy to fully master. Without a period of refinement, it would be difficult to make it truly his own. While deep underground, Wang Lin's divine sense moved. He immediately sensed another trace of sword chi coming from a short distance ahead. His eyes flickered, and in the void beneath the ground, he grabbed with his hand. The distant sword chi struggled and suddenly transformed into a massive rat beast, charging toward Wang Lin, roaring. Wang Lin raised an eyebrow and released his cultivation aura. The rat beast, formed from the sword chi, immediately shrieked and was pulled toward him. What appeared before Wang Lin was an ancient sword with a black rat beast on it. Its black eyes fixed on Wang Lin. "Rat sword." A faint smile appeared on Wang Lin's lips. When he killed the rat sword earlier, his primordial spirit had gone mad. and he had grabbed this sword and casually swung it. Later, he regretted it, but never expected that today. Not only had he gained Ling Tianho's sword chi, but he also recovered the rat's sword. Sword Venerable Ling Tianho, if one day, I, Wang Lin, bring out all the swords of the 12 sword prodigies, I wonder what your expression will be. Wang Lin grabbed the rat's sword, imprinted his divine sense on it, and tossed it into his storage pouch. The treasures of the 12 sword prodigies were no ordinary swords. With the cultivation of the 12 sword prodigies, they had never fully unleashed the sword's power, but in Wang Lin's hands, things would be different. In the underground burial site of the rat's sword, after a month of refinement, Wang Lin had finally completely assimilated the sword chi, this time thoroughly mastering it, unlike the sword chi of Mo Yang, which had merely been stored in his body for later use. The sword chi of the rat's sword, after being refined by Wang Lin, could be controlled with his heart. He could even divide it into 10 parts, each with its power evenly distributed. Similarly, when the 10 parts merged, it would become the most powerful sword chi of Ling Tianho. This made the sword chi much more flexible compared to before, and the difference was like that between heaven and earth. Even among the 12 sword prodigies, most could only unleash their sword chi all at once and could not control it as Wang Lin did. Wang Lin's ability to do this was due to his cultivation reaching the early stages of Dao seeking, and the sword chi given to him by Ling Tianho had already been stripped of its owner's divine sense to help his disciples better control it. Therefore, the sword chi became like a masterless object. In this regard, Ling Tianho's care for his disciples far exceeded that of Tian Yunzi. He could give his disciples powerful sword chi, but Tian Yunzi only provided them with a life-preserving object. Ling Tianho was willing to send the greedy wolf into the land of demonic spirits to protect his disciples, but Tian Yunzi would never do so. This difference in behavior was largely related to their respective Dao paths. Ling Tianho cultivated the path of dominance, which made him highly protective of everything under his control. Outsiders were not allowed to interfere. Disciples under his care were never allowed to be humiliated by outsiders. Because of this, while the Great Luo Sword sect was notorious, its disciples had an incredibly strong loyalty to Sword's sovereign Ling Tian. However, it also meant that the sect lacked many top-tier experts. A young eagle, if always protected, could never grow into a true majestic eagle. In contrast, Tian Yun's sect followed the Tao of fate, adapting to the will of the heavens. Tian Yunzi was a typical follower of the natural flow, and his disciples' lives, strengths, and weaknesses were determined by destiny. He rarely intervened forcefully. While this method seemed passive, it resulted in a large number of powerful individuals within Tian Yun's sect. Among them, the 7 children of heavenly destiny were all strong, not to mention the countless others who had endured life and death trials within the sect over the years. During the month Wang Lin spent cultivating underground, a major event occurred in the land of demonic spirits. This event caused most of the external cultivators to leave their hideouts and rush towards the Fire Demon Province and the Heavenly Demon Province. The Heavenly Demon Province mobilized 30 million troops and declared formal war on the Fire Demon Province. Although the land of demonic spirits had often seen skirmishes, this large-scale war between 2 provinces was extremely rare. Even the 1,000-yearly entry of cultivators usually led to minor conflicts, but not a full-blown life-and-death struggle like this. Once the balance of the 9 counties of heavenly demons was broken, it would trigger unimaginable chain reactions. But for cultivators, this was a golden opportunity to gain military merit, the fastest path to glory. The 8 great demon marshals of Heavenly Demon Province, along with 8 deputy commanders, all appeared. 2 new deputy commanders were added, including Mo Lihai and the former top demon general, Mo Fei. Moreover, the demon emperor of Heavenly Demon Province personally led the army. The entire army was split into 3 groups, attacking from 3 directions to gather in the Fire Demon capital. The day Wang Lin emerged from the underground was the very moment the Heavenly Demon Province army entered Fire Demon territory. As soon as he appeared, Wang Lin immediately sensed a strong killing intent filling the air. This killing intent did not emanate from a single person, but from millions of individuals, their combined presence darkening the very heavens and earth. The white clouds in the sky were replaced by dark mist, and a steady rainfall began to pour down. Wang Lin looked up at the sky, pondering briefly, and murmured, "The ancient demons are indeed decisive. Perhaps after so many years, their patience is wearing thin. In that case, I must be extra cautious. However, this war has little to do with me. What's most important right now is to eliminate the Sword Venerable's disciples one by one, take their remaining sword chi, and then refine the countless killing energies. By that time, even in this land of demonic spirits, I will have the capital to stand firm. And that cave mansion, I need to continue exploring. There might be some treasures there." Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and with a single step forward, he vanished without a trace. Sword Venerable's disciples. I remember there were two with Mo Fei at his side back then. They are my targets. But Mo Fei is a strange one. He looks just like that black-haired man from the Imperial Capital Prison. This is suspicious, Wang Lin thought to himself as he shifted through space. In midair, a fragrant and ancient-looking pavilion floated alongside the army. Around this pavilion, demon soldiers with sharp gazes stood in rows. At that moment, a long rainbow shot down from the sky, heading straight for the army. Before it even reached them, a figure walked out of the pavilion in the sky. The man was dressed plainly, yet he exuded an aura of authority. He smiled, looking at the approaching rainbow, and said, "Brother Wang, long time no see." The rainbow transformed into Wang Lin's figure as he landed. He glanced at the person who had stepped out of the pavilion and, without surprise, clasped his hands in greeting. Wang Lin pays his respects to the Demon Emperor. The person in front of him was none other than the young man who had spent the entire night drinking with Wang Lin. When Wang Lin first saw him years ago, it seemed like there was not a trace of demonic energy in his body. Yet, there was a subtle feeling that this person was far from ordinary. Today, upon examining his cultivation level, Wang Lin noticed something odd. Within the man's dantian was a demonic crystal the size of a fist. Although the crystal emitted no demonic energy and appeared ordinary, Wang Lin paid closer attention to it. While Wang Lin was observing him, the person who had stepped out of the loft was also scrutinizing Wang Lin. He smiled and said, "Brother Wang, there's no need to be so formal. You are the envoy chosen by the ancestral spirit. In fact, our statuses are quite similar, so you can just call me by my ancestral name, Gu Yundan. However, I am somewhat puzzled. How did you know that I am the Demon Emperor?" Wang Lin smiled faintly and replied, "I only suspected it back then, but after meeting Brother Gu today, I am sure." As soon as Wang Lin finished speaking, a strand of divine sense emanated from his storage pouch. It incessantly begged in his mind, "Master, my most revered and greatest master, how could you bear to let two lovers, bound by life and death, be so close yet pass each other by? Master, I haven't seen that little beauty in 10 years. Wang Lin furrowed his brows and slapped his storage pouch. Immediately, Su Ligua, who had been inside the immortal sword, flew out. This time, he had learned his lesson. Afraid of offending Wang Lin, he didn't bring the immortal sword out with him and instead left his body behind. As soon as he appeared, he immediately took shape, scanning the Demon Emperor. After a long while, he couldn't find the Imperial sword and couldn't help but show a look of disappointment, sighing. Could it be that I really have no fate with the little beauty? After 10 years, a lifetime passes in the blink of an eye. Su Ligua rarely spoke so elegantly, but it still sounded a bit awkward to Wang Lin. He cupped his hands toward the Demon Emperor and said, "Brother Gu, this is my sword spirit. It seems there is some misunderstanding with your Imperial sword spirit." The Demon Emperor glanced at Su Ligua and said, "No worries. I've heard much about this sword spirit, who has caused my niece to harbor resentment for 10 years. As he spoke, he reached his right hand out into the air. Immediately, the sound of cracking filled the air, and the void split open. The Imperial sword flashed out. "It's you." The moment the sword appeared, it trembled, and a sharp sound rang out from it. It immediately rushed towards Su Ligua, sending a wave of sword energy at him. Su Ligua's expression brightened instantly. Fortunately, he knew the little beauty's master was right beside him, so he suppressed the lust in his eyes and adopted a more infatuated look. He spoke to the Imperial sword, Wife, it's been 10 years. Allow your husband, Su, to, I've missed you. Saying that, he swiftly dodged the sword energy. As it was a spiritual form, Su Ligua found it somewhat difficult to dodge the sword's attack. Wang Lin's expression turned cold. Although Su Ligua was his sword spirit, and he could treat him however he liked, he would not tolerate such behavior from outsiders. As the Imperial sword made another strike and the Demon Emperor didn't intervene, Wang Lin's expression darkened. He waved his hand, and a strange wind blew up, causing the sword's blade to flicker. This aura, it's you. You are that detestable food. So you too are in cahoots. The figure of the young woman appeared on the Imperial sword. She glared angrily at Wang Lin and Su Ligua, and without hesitation, she urged the sword. Instantly, the entire surroundings were filled with sword energy, which surged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin frowned and snorted coldly. His cultivation had now reached the level of peak immortal ascension, far beyond the late infant metamorphosis stage of the past. Back then, he had been cautious of the Imperial sword, but now, with his power, he didn't care about a mere sword. With his cold snort, all the sword energy around him immediately shattered. Just as the Imperial sword was about to strike again, the Demon Emperor's right hand reached out into the void, and the Imperial sword was captured. Brother Wang, my niece is a bit mischievous. I apologize for the inconvenience. Although she is a sword spirit, she wasn't born that way. She is the daughter of an old friend of mine, and due to certain events, she turned into a spiritual form. To me, she is like a child and cannot be teased by evil people. The Demon Emperor, Gu Yundun, said with a smile, but his gaze casually swept over Su Ligua. The moment he did, Su Ligua's body trembled as if it were on the verge of collapse. Wang Lin's eyes subtly narrowed. In that instant, the Demon Emperor's demonic crystal had suddenly erupted with power, and its intensity was no less than that of a late-stage immortal ascension cultivator. Wang Lin's expression darkened. He grabbed Su Ligua and tossed him back into the storage pouch. Then he cupped his hands and said, Brother Gu, my apologies. I came here to inquire about something. Where is the Demon General Mo Lihai? The Demon Emperor inwardly sighed. He hadn't wanted to create this standoff with Wang Lin, but seeing someone bully his niece in front of him, he couldn't tolerate it. Wang Lin's sword spirit, though well concealed, clearly harbored lewd intent in his eyes. With a sigh, the Demon Emperor said, Brother Wang, Mo Lihai has become a deputy commander. He, along with the Heavenly Marshal and others, is leading the left army. They should have already reached the famed Demon Pine Wave City. After speaking, Gu Yundun paused slightly before continuing. Brother Wang, as the ancestral spirit envoy, I have already announced this matter. This will make things easier for you. Additionally, you hold my jade slip, which is as if I were personally present. If anyone shows disrespect, you can summon the Heavenly Marshal to deal with them. As he spoke, Gu Yundun took out a white jade slip and handed it to Wang Lin. This jade slip contained a unique demonic aura that was difficult to replicate. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he accepted the slip, saying, Thank you. After that, he cupped his fists in respect, turned, and left, vanishing into the horizon. Gu Yundun watched where Wang Lin had disappeared and shook his head, thinking to himself, Wang Lin, from the moment I heard that tune, I knew we were of the same kind. I do not wish to make an enemy of you. I offer this in good faith, hoping you understand. As Wang Lin moved, Su Ligua's voice suddenly reached his primordial spirit. Master, that little beauty. Do not mention this again. Wang Lin replied flatly. He squeezed the jade slip in his hand and placed it into his storage pouch. With his intellect, he could naturally understand the Demon Emperor's intent. The left army of the Heavenly Demon Province, with millions of demon soldiers, advanced with a tremor that shook the land, as if the ground itself were echoing with countless thunderous explosions. The three main commanders, Tian, Zhou, and Huang, led the charge, with the three deputy commanders, Hong, Xian, and Huang, assisting in managing the forces. Together, they led millions of demon soldiers directly toward Pine Wave City on the border of the Flame Demon Province. At that moment, Tian, Zhou, and Huang rode different demonic beasts as they galloped through the ranks of their army. The three commanders did not speak to one another, yet a heavy, oppressive atmosphere filled the air, suffusing the world with a sense of impending slaughter as the heavenly demon army marched toward Pine Wave City. On the right flank of the army, Deputy Commander Mo Fei, clad in armor, rode a beast that resembled a Qilin. His expression was calm as he surveyed the battlefield. Behind him, a middle-aged man stood on the Qilin's tail, his eyes closed, his back carrying a large sword. His figure swayed with the Qilin's movements, giving off a rather ethereal, immortal aura. At that moment, a distant thunderclap suddenly resounded from the horizon, shaking the air. The thunder seemed to suppress the killing intent of the millions of demon soldiers. Amidst the thunder, a figure appeared, standing still. It was Wang Lin, dressed in black armor that made him appear as if the demon's sovereign himself had descended, with demonic energy swirling around him. His arrival immediately drew the attention of many. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin's eyes flashed with a cold gleam. He took a step forward, and his entire being transformed into a shooting star, crashing through the sky toward Mo Fei. He did not speak. With a single movement, his divine sense instantly expanded, locking onto Mo Fei on the right flank. Mo Fei's eyes were cold as he stared at Wang Lin. The middle-aged man behind him slowly opened his eyes, releasing a deep, penetrating light. Before anyone could react, Wang Lin's figure flashed like a streak of lightning, crossing over countless demon soldiers. The three main commanders, aside from Tian, noticed and exchanged a quick glance. The millions of demon soldiers howled with bloodlust, but Wang Lin ignored them all. To kill was to seize momentum, to strike fast and decisively. Otherwise, if he introduced himself first and presented the Demon Emperor's jade slip, the initiative would be lost, giving the great Luo sword sect enough time to consider and unleash the Ling Tianhou sword Qi. By the Demon Emperor's command, capture and kill Deputy Commander Mo Fei. All others, stay back. Wang Lin shouted. He tossed the Demon Emperor's jade slip into the air, sending it flying toward the two main commanders, Zhou and Huang, who had been about to act. This entire series of events unfolded in the blink of an eye. As the yellow springs surged, Wang Lin executed a teleportation, disappearing just as his figure vanished. His right index finger pointed forward. Annihilation finger. The wind of the annihilation finger crackled like lightning as it surged toward Mo Fei. Mo Fei's expression remained cold as he raised his right hand. The middle-aged man behind him furrowed his brow and formed hand seals. Suddenly, a massive sword flew out from behind him, and a ferocious boar spirit materialized on its blade. The finger wind was extremely fast, but just as it neared Mo Fei, it suddenly shattered and disappeared without a trace. This caused Mo Fei to freeze for a moment, but he quickly changed his expression. A surge of demonic power exploded from his body, enveloping him completely. The middle-aged man also appeared momentarily stunned. In that instant, death had already arrived. Wang Lin's figure appeared beside the middle-aged man in a flash. With a single finger, the demonic aura from his armor condensed, transforming into a demonic flame. This finger was the peak, unstoppable. The middle-aged man's face changed drastically. At the moment of life and death, he instantly teleported out, and without hesitation, prepared to unleash the Ling Tianhou sword Qi. However, in that instant, the yellow springs rose from the ground. Tao transmitted through heaven and earth. The cycle of reincarnation unfolded, and an invisible force enveloped the surroundings. It was as if, in that moment, the entire world was consumed by the yellow springs, causing all living beings to freeze. In that stillness, the golden glow between the middle-aged man's brows flickered, and Wang Lin's index finger landed on him. The finger fell, and the man died. With a swift motion, Wang Lin severed the man's head and, without looking back, grabbed the large sword floating in the air, turning to leave. His movements were fluid, clean, and decisive, like flowing water.